When a billionaire discovers his maid caring for his son, the heartwarming truth revealed will change everything. Jack Thompson, the king of Chicago's skyline, strode into his penthouse like he owned the whole city. And for a billionaire like him, maybe he did. But today, his imposing figure froze at the threshold, eyes wide with disbelief. There, in his living room, was his son Alex, a bubbly 8-year-old, his laughter ringing sweetly against the lavish walls. But the sight that set Jack's heart racing and fists tightening was Maria, the live-in maid. She was on the floor, surrounded by toys, sharing a joyful moment with Alex. A sharp anger flared within Jack. "What is happening here?" he bellowed, pounding his fist on a marble table, a sound as sharp as the resentments that grew in him since he built his empire. The laughter died instantly, replaced by a tense silence that seemed to engulf them. Alex's wide eyes darted between his father and Maria, a flicker of fear darting across his innocent face. Maria straightened, her tone unwavering. "We were just playing, Mr. Thompson." Alex was feeling lonely. Lonely. The word hit Jack harder than any boardroom meeting ever had. His life had been built on success and ambition, but somewhere along the line, he had left his son behind. A pang of guilt coursed through him, but it quickly turned into indignation. "How dare she? You're supposed to clean, not play." Jack snapped, the veins in his neck straining against the pressure building inside him. Maria's brow furrowed, but there was a strength in her gaze that suggested she could see beyond his raging facade. "I know what it's like to feel lonely, Mr. Thompson," she said quietly, yet firmly. "That's what children need most, someone who listens." Jack scoffed, his world of wealth and success feeling strangely empty. "What do you know about my life?" But Maria, a single mother herself, had an ocean of understanding behind her calm expression. "More than you think," she replied softly, "it's never too late to change, sir." Their stormy encounter escalated, words ricocheting off lavish decor, each strike laying bare their hidden pains. It wasn't just the distance between Jack and Alex, it mirrored the world beyond. The divisions of wealth had held Jack captive, determined to conquer everything, yet that eagerness couldn't help him with a child who longed for connection. Then, everything shattered in an instant. Alex stepped between them, laughter fading to coughing fits and asthma attack. Panic washed over Jack as Maria expertly scooped Alex into her arms, whispering comfort while her heart thumped with urgency. "Call for help," she shouted, and Jack, suddenly dropped from his high tower of control, fumbled for his phone. Childhood nostalgia, a game of tag with laughter, flashed before his eyes as his son gasped for breath, a stark reminder of all he had sacrificed. Maria worked to soothe Alex, her nurturing presence igniting something deep within Jack. As sirens wailed in the distance, he found himself at the bedroom door, watching Maria cradle Alex, her voice wrapping around his boy like a warm hug. "You're brave, Alex." Just breathe in and out. A surge of regret crippled Jack. He thought of the latest deal, the stock market. None of it mattered now. Standing there, an invisible weight bore down on him. Would he allow this moment to slip away? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Jack clenched his fists, torn. Everything felt fragile and yet so vital. Would he step through that door, finally bridging the expanse he had allowed to grow between him and Alex? There, he stood, teetering on the edge of a decision. Would he reclaim the love he had so carelessly brushed aside? Uncertainty swirled in his chest as he took a deep breath, preparing to face the reckoning of a lifetime. Jack's heart raced as he waged a silent battle within himself. The chaos around him blurred into background noise. All he could focus on were Maria's soothing whispers, the urgency in her voice as she comforted Alex. It felt like a moment suspended in time while he stood frozen by the doorway, the weight of his past choices pressing down on him. What am I doing? He thought, as regret dripped like rain down the window. He was a man who forged himself in the fires of business, but what had he truly accomplished? It dawned on him that wealth and power didn't fill the aching void between him and his son. Just breathe, buddy. I'm here, Maria cooed, gently stroking Alex's hair. Jack's heart twisted painfully. He had built a fortress around himself, a world of deal-making and corporate battles, but at what cost? He missed birthdays, school events, even mundane moments that built a relationship. Was it too late to turn back? Finally, in a rush of adrenaline, Jack surged forward. Let me help, he said, his voice surprisingly gentle. Maria's eyes met his, a mix of disbelief and gratitude crossing her features. It was like a silent accord had formed between them in that instant. Maria nodded, her expression inviting but cautious. Jack knelt down beside them, his presence igniting a flicker of hope in Alex's eyes. The contrast of their worlds had never been stronger. Alex, look at me, he said, guiding his son's gaze away from the fear. You're so strong. You're going to be okay. As the paramedics arrived, Jack's heart raced not from panic, but an unfamiliar surge of determination. He'd become used to being an observer in his own life, but not anymore. While the paramedics worked, Maria stepped back slightly, giving Jack space. He caught a glimpse of her worried expression, a vulnerability he hadn't noticed before. In that moment, the layers of tension that had existed between them began to peel away. Jack, unthinking, grasped Maria's hand. Thank you for being here, he said, noticing how warmth radiated from her. It dawned on him that she offered something invaluable connection. I just want him to be okay, Maria replied, her voice steady yet trembling. What they both understood in that moment went deeper than words. Time crawled as the paramedics stabilized Alex. Jack's other life business meetings, gala events, and empty praises seemed trivial. The weight of silence between him and Maria felt different now. It was something more raw than anger. After what felt like hours, the paramedics lifted Alex onto a stretcher, reassuring Jack that he would be all right. As they prepared to take him to the ambulance, Jack found himself standing beside Maria, their shoulders nearly touching, a small yet monumental act of solidarity. I'm sorry, Maria, he whispered, the apology filtering through emotions he had buried for too long. I've made so many mistakes. We all make mistakes, Mr. Thompson, she said softly, refusing to break eye contact. But it's what we do next that matters. Her wisdom wrapped around him, an anchor amidst the turmoil. Jack understood then that this was a turning point, a moment filled with possibilities. Could he truly change? As they stood together, watching Alex being taken away, Jack felt a tiny flame ignite within him. Familiar feelings of hope and determination tangled with fear. The night felt heavy, yet there was something undeniably different. Jack had a choice to make. Would he take the leap into a new existence, one filled with genuine connection and healing, or cling to the frayed edges of his empire? Just as he pondered, a sudden realization struck him. Maria wasn't just the maid, she had become an unexpected teacher. He felt a pull toward her warmth amidst the chaos. But could he break down the walls he had built around them both? The moment hung precariously in the air. Jack glanced at Maria, who had turned her gaze to the horizon, her expression contemplative. Let us get to the hospital, he finally said, each word a promise. But as he moved forward, doubt crept back in. What awaited them on this new path? Would they find healing together, or would the shadows from their pasts pull them apart once again? Jack and Maria climbed into the back of the ambulance, the cool air inside contrasting sharply with the tension that still hung between them. The siren wailed, a harsh reminder of their frantic reality. Alex lay strapped to the stretcher, pale and still, surrounded by paramedics who spoke in calm, clinical tones. Stay strong, buddy, Jack said, forcing a smile that was more for himself than for Alex. His body buzzed with worry as they pulled away from the house, leaving behind the world he had built up so carefully. Each bounce of the ambulance rattled him further, and he found himself reaching for Maria's hand once again. It was a simple act, but it felt powerful, a lifeline in the storm. Maria turned to him, her eyes bright with a mix of hope and fear. "He is strong, Jack. Kids are resilient," she reassured, squeezing his hand tighter. "I wish I could take his pain away," Jack confessed, feeling the weight of his helplessness. It was difficult to reconcile the business titan he was, someone who thrived on control, with the man who felt entirely powerless in this moment. "I should have been there more for him." Maria's gaze softened, her expression shifting from one of concern to understanding. "You can be there for him now. That's what matters," she said, her voice steady, grounding him. The ambulance swerved through the night, and Jack felt a storm of emotions swirling inside him. He thought of how many times he had brushed aside important moments for work, how many important values he had traded for success. Would Alex forgive him if no, when he had that chance? As they arrived at the hospital, the bright lights temporarily blinded them. The paramedics worked swiftly, unloading Alex with efficient urgency, pulling Jack and Maria back into the chaos. Heart racing, Jack followed closely behind the stretcher as they wheeled Alex inside. "Stay here, please," a nurse instructed them at the entrance to the emergency room. Jack's heart fell. We need to be with him," he insisted, the panic rising in him. In that moment, he realized he didn't just want to be present, he needed to be there, to support his son. Maria placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "We'll wait together. I'll be right here with you." It struck him how much she meant it. They stood side by side, hearts racing, as the world inside the ER became a blur of faces and voices. Jack wanted to speak, to fill the space between them with words, but all he could manage was silence. The uncomfortable truth sat on his chest like a weight, the realization that they were united by something so much deeper than their past. As minutes slipped by, time felt elastic, stretching and contracting with each breath he took. Maria glanced at him, her eyes searching his. "You're doing better than you think, Jack. Just being here is a big step. Does it ever get easier?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper, afraid of what the answer might be. "I think it does if you're willing to face it," she replied. The sincerity in her words reverberated through him. Finally, the door swung open, and a doctor appeared, his face serious yet calm. Jack's heart raced anew, every fear colliding with the glimmer of hope. "Mr. Thompson. Can I speak with you outside?" The doctor's voice echoed through the room, pulling Jack from his thoughts. The worst scenarios flooded his mind. What if everything changed? He locked eyes with Maria, silently pleading for strength. She gave him a small nod, an encouragement that felt like a warm blanket amidst the impending storm. As he followed the doctor out, doubt hung heavily in the air. What awaited him outside those hospital doors could reshape everything. As he stepped into the hall, Jack felt a tightening in his chest. Was it hope or fear? Only one truth remained. Everything hung in the balance, and with it, his chance to reconcile and rebuild his life. Would this be the moment wounds began to heal, or would it mark another step back into the shadows of his past? What truth would be revealed when he finally faced it? Jack took a deep breath as he followed the doctor out of the emergency room. The corridor lights buzzed above him, casting an unsettling glow over everything. His footsteps echoed, each one a reminder of the weight pressing on his chest. He felt like a marionette, strings cut, uncertainty pulling him in every direction. The doctor stopped a few paces ahead and turned to face him, a clipboard clutched tightly under one arm. "Mr. Thompson," he began, his expression grave. Jack felt his heart leap into his throat. "We need to discuss Alex's condition." Jack nodded, swallowing hard. "What's wrong with him?" The question came out sharper than he intended, but he couldn't help it. The thought of anything happening to Alex sent a fresh wave of panic crashing over him. The doctor took a moment, as if weighing his words with precision. "Alex has suffered some significant injuries. We've stabilized him for now, but he will need further tests and possibly surgery. A thick haze of dread settled over Jack. Surgery. The word felt heavy on his tongue, like a stone sinking into dark waters. Is he going to be okay? Jack's voice cracked, and he couldn't stop the tremor from creeping in. This wasn't supposed to happen. Not to Alex. He was supposed to be invincible, just like Jack had always believed he was. It's too early to say, the doctor replied, his tone sympathetic but firm. He's a fighter, and children do recover remarkably well. But we need to keep monitoring him closely. Monitoring? What does that mean? What can I do? Jack was desperate now, frustration bubbling up as he grappled for some semblance of control. The doctor stared at him for a moment, searching Jack's eyes as if trying to determine the man behind the rich facade. Just be there for him, Mr. Thompson. Kids need their families, especially during times like this. Yeah, I know. Jack snapped before catching himself. Sorry, I know that. He paused, taking another deep breath, trying to rein in the tide of emotions that threatened to spill over. I just need to know he is safe. Right now, he is in our hands. We're doing everything we can. I'll keep you updated, the doctor assured him before turning away. Jack stood motionless, the walls feeling like they were closing in. He wanted to follow the doctor, to demand more answers or find a way to be useful. But he was stuck, an outsider in a place that pictured everything he feared the most. When he returned to Maria, her expression was a somber mirror of his feelings. What did he say? She asked, her voice a whisper. Jack turned away, battling the knot tightening in his throat. He said Alex is injured. They're monitoring him. Monitoring? She repeated, her brows furrowing with concern. What does that exactly mean? We don't know yet. But he needs surgery, he mumbled, the admission tasting bitter. Maria's face fell. Is he going to be okay? A million thoughts raced through his mind, questions he didn't have the answers to. But one thing was clear, he couldn't let Maria see the despair threatening to overwhelm him. He has to be. He is strong. He'll pull through. He hoped the words sounded convincing, they barely did. Maria stepped closer, her eyes soft and compassionate. We need to keep praying. For him. For us. Her faith struck something deep inside him, a flicker of understanding that maybe just maybe this was where he needed to start. Jack clasped his hands tightly together, a small act of solidarity against the storm that raged within. Yeah, you're right, he nodded, though doubt lingered. As they waited, the urgency of the moment pressed in on them. Jack thought of all the missed opportunities, the moments he had let slip away. In the chaos, he felt a stirring to change, to be a better father not just for himself but for Alex, who needed him now more than ever. Then, a chilling thought broke through. Somehow, he would have to face Alex when he woke up. Would he recognize the changes Jack wanted to make? Would he even want to? Just then, a nurse appeared, her demeanor brisk yet warm. Mr. Thompson, we're ready to take Alex to surgery. Can I get you to sign these forms? Before Jack could move, fear clawed at his insides. Is there any chance he paused, heart racing, is there any chance he won to make it? The nurse's eyes softened, and she put a reassuring hand on his shoulder. We're doing everything we can. Trust us, and trust him. He nodded, though inside, a war raged between doubt and hope. What Jack didn't know was that standing on the edge of this darkness could lead him not only to Alex but to the truth about himself and Maria. As he signed the papers, the uncertainty loomed like shadowy clouds overhead. But as those doors swung shut behind Alex, one question took root: how far would Jack go to reclaim his family? And in that moment of surrender, he felt a spark ignite within him. Could this be the beginning of something new? Jack waited in the stark, gray waiting room, his heart thumping in his chest like a drum. Every sound a beep from the machines, the low murmur of quieter conversations, a phone ringing in the distance felt like a hammer driving further into his chest. There were other families there too, some distracted by their phones, others with eyes glazed over as they stared vacantly into space. Jack wondered how many were in his position, torn between hope and despair. Maria had stepped away for a moment, needing to gather her own thoughts, but Jack felt the void in her absence. He wanted her close, to share the weight of the unknown, to keep the faith that everything would turn out all right. Somehow, though, he felt alone. He pulled out his phone and dialed Alex's favorite video game, hoping to drown out his fear in nostalgia. Images of Alex laughing, vibrant and full of life, flooded his mind, quick fingers dancing over the controller, victory shouts echoing in their living room. It struck him then, a memory of the time they had gotten the game together. How Alex had begged and begged until Jack finally relented. The joy on that boy's face when he scored a winning point reminded him just how much he wanted to keep creating memories like that. The thought sparked a fresh wave of determination within him. The man in the waiting room wasn't he just waiting for surgery results, he was a father who needed to do better, be better. If Alex pulled through, Jack wanted to be there for him in ways he had failed in the past. When Maria returned, her eyes were slightly puffy, and Jack could tell she had shed some quiet tears. She took a seat beside him, their hands instinctively finding each other. "How are you holding up?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm trying," he said, squeezing her hand. "We need some sort of plan. When, and if, Alex wakes up, I want him to see different. I want him to know I'm his dad and I'm here." His voice trembled with emotion, both from fear and resolve. Maria's eyes shone with unshed tears. "The doctor said he is a fighter. We have to believe that. Little boys like Alex, they surprise us all the time." Jack chuckled lightly, searching for light in the bleakness. He always did have a knack for turning everything into an adventure. Just then, the doors to the operating room swung open, and the same nurse who had given Jack the forms stepped back into view. Jack shot to his feet, heart racing again. "How did it go? Is he all right?" The nurse's expression was calm, but her eyes carried a weight. "Alex did well during the surgery. He's in recovery now. We'll keep him monitored closely for the next few hours. If his vitals continue to improve, we will allow you to see him." With those words, a tidal wave of relief washed over Jack. Can I see him sooner if possible?" The nurse glanced back toward the recovery area, then back to Jack. "I can arrange for a quick peek, but he may be groggy. There might be some confusion." "To see him, that's all that matters," Jack replied, hope flaring anew. They followed the nurse down a series of sterile halls, every step echoing loudly in the tension of the air. As they rounded the corner into the recovery room, Jack's breath hitched. The sight of Alex small and fragile in the hospital bed, tubes and wires around him, struck him like a physical blow. Alex's face was pale, and the steady beep of the monitor was the only sound in the quiet room. For a painful moment, it was like time froze. It was surreal, feeling helpless and terrified, but there was also this heartwarming flicker of life in that little boy, that spark that had chased away Jack's own darkness before. When Alex's eyes fluttered open, Jack felt something shift in him. The world beyond the walls faded away, and nothing mattered but the boy in the bed. "Hey, buddy," Jack whispered, voice cracking. "I'm here." Alex squinted up at him, confusion often evident in children awakening from anesthesia. "Dad?" Jack leaned closer, feeling an emotion rise strong and bright in his chest. "Yeah, it's me, champ. Everything's going to be okay. I promise." But even as he spoke, he wondered what okay really meant. In that moment, he realized that healing wouldn't start and end with Alex's physical recovery. It would also unfurl within their relationship, in the trust built on fragile threads of honesty, love, and the willingness to change. As Alex's eyelids grew heavier again, Jack found himself gripping his son's hand tighter, willing every ounce of love he felt into the connection between them. There was so much to say, so much to share, and maybe just maybe this moment was just the beginning, but questions lingered as well. Would Alex even want him when he truly woke up? Would he see the changes in his father, or would the past hold too strong a weight? In that heavy silence, a new determination took root. Jack realized he had the power to become the man and father Alex needed. As long as he was willing to fight for it, and as that thought settled, Jack couldn't help but wonder what would it take for him to really break down the walls and find a true connection with Alex and Maria. The soft beeping of the monitor was a constant reminder of Alex's fragile state. Jack couldn't tear his gaze away from his son's face, so peaceful yet so vulnerable. In that moment, any doubts about being the father Alex deserved gave way to an instinctive need to protect and nurture. He felt a surge of love but an equal measure of fear. How could he show Alex that he was different now? Maria stood quietly beside him, her hand resting gently on Alex's shoulder. Jack could see the tension in her shoulders easing, a reflection of her faith in Alex's resilience. "You did good," she murmured, acknowledging Jack's resolve without needing to say much, but there was still a heaviness in the air, a looming weight that came with the knowledge that recovery was not just physical. Both parents had their own hurdles to cross, the emotional ones that dealt with their relationship and how to move forward as a unit. Jack had always been a dreamer, a man of big ideas, but he struggled with execution when it came to his family. As he watched Alex's tiny chest rise and fall, Jack's thoughts drifted away, recalling nights spent away for work, endless meetings that blurred into one another while he chased goals that now felt meaningless. He had missed out on baseball games, school plays, and countless bedtime stories. Regret clung to him like a weight around his neck, heavier than the worry swirling around in his heart. "Jack," Maria interrupted his spiral. "Can you just hold him?" Those words broke through his fog. "Of course," he said, his voice steadying. "I can do that." He shifted and cradled Alex's hand, feeling warmth radiate from that fragile little body. Carefully, Jack leaned down to kiss Alex's forehead, savoring the fleeting moment of closeness. The nurse peeked in, her clipboard tucked under her arm. "He is stable, but the anesthesia still has him in and out. Just keep talking to him. Your voice will help." Her encouragement felt like a lifebuoy tossed into a turbulent sea. "Hey, buddy," Jack whispered again. "It's your dad. Remember those adventures we talked about? The ones where the hero always comes back to save the day?" With great care, he regaled Alex with stories from their past, all the places they'd ventured and laughed, wishing he could weave the fabric of their bond tighter with each tale shared, time blurred together, filled with the flickering of monitors and hushed exchanges. Jack felt Maria's warmth beside him. She was a rock, grounding him with her presence. As Jack spoke, he kept an eye on those small movements, Alex's fingers twitching slightly, the color in his cheeks gradually returning. "Alex," Jack said, pushing back tears, "I'm here. We're in this together, and I'm not going anywhere. I promise." Alex stirred, a faint mumble escaping his lips. Was he dreaming? Did he hear his father's voice? Those hours passed as the nurse came and went, checking vitals and adjusting machines. The reality of the situation settled heavier than before. Even if Alex woke up and didn't recognize him, even if there was uncertainty, Jack knew one thing: he had already begun to put the pieces back together, one story at a time. The weight of his past choices still loomed like a cloud. But today, in this moment, all he could focus on was building the future. It was a chance, a renewed hope for healing, not just for Alex, but for himself and Maria too. Every shared moment lifted them just a little higher, granted them more strength. But in the midst of the hopeful warmth, Jack found himself glancing at Maria, seeking something between them, an unspoken declaration of love or understanding. She glanced back, weary hope reflected in her eyes. Would their connection withstand these hurdles? As they sank into that silence, full of unasked questions and burgeoning hopes, a nurse re-entered the room, breaking their moment. "Alex is waking up." Jack's heart raced. This was the moment he had been waiting for. But what would follow? Would their bond be forged anew, or would it shatter under the weight of unaddressed grievances? All he could do was hold his breath as eyes fluttered open once more, stronger this time, and he hoped against all odds that what came next would seal their family tighter than ever before. The moment Alex's eyes fluttered open, Jack felt the world around him shift. Time slowed as he studied his son's expression, searching for recognition. It was as if silence enveloped the room, amplifying the quiet beeping of machines and the distant murmurs of nurses just outside. Suddenly, all the fears he had battled submerged, momentarily overshadowed by an undeniable hope. "Alex?" Jack whispered, a tremor in his voice. The boy's gaze danced between them, first to Jack, then to Maria. There was confusion, an innocent bewilderment that ignited Jack's protective instincts. "Dad?" Alex's voice was soft, rough around the edges as if his throat were still raw from anesthesia. The simple acknowledgement sent a wave of relief through Jack, his heart swelling with a mixture of joy and apprehension. "Yes, son. I'm right here." Jack leaned closer, holding Alex's small hand. He felt the warmth and strength in that simple grasp, grounding himself in the moment. Maria's fingers brushed against Jack's, their shared support simmering in the air between them. I was dreaming," Alex murmured, blinking slowly. It was a big adventure. His words trailed off, and Jack could see the shadows of sleep still clinging to him. "What kind of adventure?" Jack pressed gently, encouraging his son to share. He wanted to dive into that world, to connect with the bravest version of Alex. "The dragon was chasing us," Alex exclaimed, his face lighting up with a spark of excitement that seemed to breathe life into the sterile room. "But we escaped." There was a moment of pure innocence, and Jack couldn't help but smile. "That's awesome. You know who always wins against dragons?" "Who?" Alex's voice was filled with curiosity, the wonder sparking like fireflies in the night. "The superheroes, the ones who always come back to save the day," Jack said, emphasizing the word save. He was desperate for Alex to feel the strength in his voice, to trust that he would always be there. "That's cool," Alex replied, his smile faltering just a bit. Jack caught it, the slight uncertainty in his son's eyes as he looked at Maria. "Hey, buddy," Maria chimed in, her tone light but steady. "You've been really brave, and we're both so proud of you." Alex's gaze shifted from Jack to his mother, and Jack could see the wheels turning in his mind. Would he remember their struggles? Would he sense the fractures that still needed mending? "Am I okay?" Alex asked, vulnerability painting his words, and it broke Jack's heart. The weight of a different kind of fear lodged itself deep in his chest. "You are okay, and you're getting stronger every second," Jack assured him. "We're going to face everything together, as a family. Just like we talked about." Breathless, Jack placed a gentle kiss on Alex's forehead once more. The connection between them, the familiar bond wrapped around them like a warm blanket, made Jack feel more alive than ever. There was something about this moment that filled him with purpose. This was a chance to rewrite their story, to build something better, but as the hospital lights shone brightly above, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that shadows still lingered. There were conversations they needed to have, the unspoken words between him and Maria that still lay dormant, waiting for the right time to surface. The nurse came back in, her clipboard swinging a little. "It's great to see him awake. But we should keep the noise down while he doesn't regain his full strength," she advised, checking Alex's vitals. "Okay," Jack agreed, though he felt an urgency rising within him. How long could they keep this newfound connection intact? With the moment so delicate, Jack turned his focus to Maria, catching her eye. The nuanced look she gave him spoke volumes, a glimmer of understanding tinged with the weight of the journey ahead. "Let's take it day by day," Maria suggested softly, as if reading his thoughts. "But we should talk about things." "Yeah, we will," Jack replied, his heart an uneasy mix of hope and uncertainty. As Alex's eyelids began to droop once more, he whispered, "Promise me you won't leave again." Jack's heart sank yet soared at once. "I promise, Alex. I'll always be here," he vowed, even as the shadows of the past loomed uncomfortably close. And with that promise lingering in the air, Jack couldn't help but wonder, would their family truly heal, or would the scars of yesterday tear them apart again? The journey ahead seemed daunting, and as the monitor beeped steadily, he realized this was just the beginning. Jack barely sat back in his chair when Alex's eyes fluttered shut again. The moment felt fleeting, like a shift in the wind that left him breathless. The nurse had left, but Jack could still sense the faint echo of the machines, the whispering shadows of worry coiling again around him. He leaned forward, searching for any movement in his son's face as Maria quietly slipped out for a few moments. Time dragged on, each tick of the clock ticking against his heart. Jack took a deep breath and let his mind wander, tracing every moment leading to this one. The early morning talks with Alex about superheroes, the little boy who once fought off imaginary beasts in their backyard. Those memories felt like gold now, something to hold on to tightly as he navigated these turbulent waters. Then the door cracked open again, and Maria stepped back in. He could see the softness in her eyes, but also a facade of strength, as if she were steeling herself for whatever came next. "How's he doing?" she asked, her voice a gentle balm on Jack's frayed nerves. "Still waking up," he said softly, gesturing to Alex's still form. "He was dreaming about dragons." Maria smiled faintly at that. "He always did have a wild imagination." Jack nodded, but then the smile slipped away. "We need to talk, Maria." The words lingered in the air, heavy with unspoken fears. "About what?" she asked, crossing her arms defensively, subconsciously drawing a barrier between them. "About us, about everything," he replied, the urgency in his voice thickening. "We can't pretend everything is okay. Alex deserves to know that we're all okay. Together." Maria glanced over at Alex, who seemed lost in a tranquil dream world, his face soft and innocent. "I know," she admitted, the weight of their struggles visibly washing over her. "But how?" "It's complicated, Jack." Jack couldn't hold back any longer. "We have to try. For him. We owe him that much." But doubt crept into the corners of their conversation. Maria shifted uncomfortably. "What if we can't? What if we're just putting on a show for him?" Jack swallowed hard, feeling every bit the weight of that question. "Sometimes just being there is enough to start, don't you think?" Maybe. Maria frowned, searching her own heart for answers. Another silence filled the room. The nurse had mentioned that stress could affect Alex's recovery. Jack's stomach twisted with the knowledge that as much as they wanted to protect him, the truth was cluttered with complexity. Minutes felt like hours, and Jack finally broke the tension. "What if I told you he asked me to never leave again?" Maria's expression softened, and she stepped closer to Jack, vulnerability shining through her defenses. "He's been through so much. I don't want to let him down again." Jack reached for her hand, their fingers entwining, as if that connection was made of the very hope they needed. "We're going to face this, Maria. As a family. But what if he remembers everything?" She shot back, her eyes sparkling with unshed tears. "What if we can't fix it all?" Jack squeezed her hand, feeling the warmth of solidarity flow between them. "Then we'll work through it together. One day at a time." Suddenly, Alex stirred, his eyes popping open once more. "Dad? Mom?" His voice was a whisper, strained and fragile. Both of them were instantly there, ready to embrace their son, ready to shield him from the storm that loomed outside those sterile walls. Alex looked between them, the innocence still shining in his young face. "We're a superhero team, right?" "Yes, buddy." "The best team," Jack replied, heart swelling, his voice steady. "Yeah. Just like in my dreams." Alex brightened, and Jack exchanged a glance with Maria, their hearts pulling together. But in that moment of joy, a question lingered: could they rise up, united before their son, while the world outside seemed ready to break them apart again? As the sun began to set, casting shadows in the hospital room, Jack felt a tight knot form in his chest. Was hope enough to save them all? Jack watched as Alex's face lit up with joy. The shadows of doubt that had hung over the room seemed to lift, replaced by the glow of their son's laughter. He leaned down, placing a gentle kiss on Alex's forehead, absorbing the warmth of his small body. Nothing felt right with the world outside, but in this moment, they were cocooned together, safe and united. Superheroes never give up, right? Alex chirped, glancing from Jack to Maria, his excitement palpable. Right, Maria affirmed, her voice steadier now, the worries swirling in her mind settling just a little. And we're going to fight the toughest battles together, no matter what. Jack smiled, holding on to the small victories as if they were the only thing grounding him to reality. But their sense of unity was short-lived. The nurse entered again, this time with a serious expression. Mr. and Mrs. Thompson. She called softly, capturing their full attention. Can I have a word with you? Fear launched a fresh wave through Jack. Is it Alex? He blurted, anxiety painting his voice. No, he is stable, she reassured them. But I need to discuss his medical plan going forward. She glanced at Alex, who was blissfully unaware, still floating on the high of the moment. Can we speak privately? Jack shared a look with Maria, and his gut twisted. They both nodded reluctantly, following the nurse out of the room. As they stepped into the sterile hallway, the clinical smells and white walls amplified the tension building between them. Is it about the treatment? Maria asked first, her tone softening from concern into a nervous edge. Yes, the nurse replied, keeping her voice low. We need to consider what is best for him moving forward, considering how hard this has been on all of you. Jack felt his heart quicken, the implications like thunder rumbling through his veins. What do you mean? He pressed, gripping the edge of the doorframe for support. The nurse sighed, a flicker of compassion in her eyes. It's not uncommon for children to face emotional struggles after trauma. We recommend family therapy together, to help both of you and Alex process this. Jack's breath hitched. Therapy? Yes, she said gently. Sometimes just like superheroes, families need a little help to get equipped for the battles ahead. Maria's hand slipped into Jack's, her warmth a lifeline as they stood wrapped in uncertainty. We've been trying to hold it together, Maria whispered, the vulnerability creeping back in. Will therapy even work? It can help, the nurse assured them. But it's a journey, one that requires honesty and openness. Jack's mind raced. They had been stumbling in the dark for so long. Could this be the light they needed? I think we should consider it, he found himself saying, his voice steady, despite the rush of conflicting emotions that as they walked back into the room, Alex was watching them, curiosity shining in his eyes. Everything okay? He asked, a little frown knitting his brows. Of course, Maria said, kneeling beside him again. Just some superhero planning. I want to help. Alex said, his voice bubbling with enthusiasm. The innocence in his eyes tugged at both Jack and Maria's hearts. Jack's own doubts crept back, though. Would they be able to figure this out? Were they strong enough to face the truth? The three of them held hands, a small fortress forming against the uncertainties looming ahead. In the silence that enveloped them, Jack felt hope mingling with fear, as if the universe was laying a foundation for their next chapter. But there was still a lingering doubt in his chest, a feeling that they were simply standing at the edge of something much bigger than they could imagine. That he turned to Maria, who caught his gaze. What if Alex needs more than us? She whispered, uncertainty looming again. Then we'll find a way to give it to him, Jack replied firmly, even as the shadows of doubt recalled the city outside pressing down on their little world. Outside, the sun sank deeper, and the night closed in around them. Jack could feel that familiar tightening in his chest. Would the darkness outside finally seep into their lives again? Suddenly, a thought caught in his throat, breathless and urgent. I want to believe in fairy tale endings, he said slowly. Will we find ours? The question hung, trembling in the air, leaving them waiting to see what the next day might bring. As the days unfolded at the hospital, the sense of hope grew stronger. Jack and Maria settled into a rhythm, visiting Alex each day, bringing stories, laughter, and snippets of silly adventures. The dark specter of regret still hovered, but the moments of connection began to shine brighter. Alex's recovery came with its ups and downs, and there were days when fear would flicker in his eyes, moments when he needed more than just his parents' presence. Jack saw this and knew deep down that their little family needed healing, not just physically, but emotionally too. They started attending family therapy as suggested, and while it felt daunting, each session chipped away at the ice that had formed around their hearts. In those sessions, sharing their fears as well as dreams became cathartic. They learned to listen, really listen to one another, going beyond words to the emotions that slumbered beneath the surface. It was as if complicated knots were slowly being untied, allowing room for vulnerability and growth. Jack saw the uplift in Alex's spirit during and after these sessions, a light returning to his eyes they hadn't seen in what felt like forever. One particular day, they all sat in a circle, and Alex spoke up. "I was scared. I didn't want you to leave me again," he admitted, his little voice quivering just slightly. Jack felt his heart constrict. "Buddy, I promise I won't leave. I'll always be here," he vowed, his tone tender yet firm. Maria's hand on his felt warm, a silent agreement that they were both committed to this new path. In the following weeks, Jack found himself waking up with more than just the weight of numbers and deadlines on his mind. He awoke with the echo of laughter and warmth, reminders of the stories they built together. As weekends passed, they took adventure trips to parks, shared homemade pancakes on sunny mornings, and disappeared into hours of laughter over board games. Each giggle ignited a flicker of hope within him, erasing an inkling of the past that was filled with too much ambition and not enough love. The bond between Jack and Maria flourished too. They found new ways to communicate, weaving their hopes and fears together, transforming distance into understanding. Maria's smile, once soft and uncertain, began to radiate again, filled with confidence and trust. Their connection deepened during quiet moments filled with shared glances and gentle touches. One evening, after a particularly successful day filled with family fun, Jack reached for Maria's hand as they watched Alex fall asleep in his room. A peaceful look settled over the boy's face. "I can't believe how far we've come," Jack murmured. She turned to him, a glow of understanding in her eyes. "It's only just the beginning, Jack." "Right," he sighed, feeling that familiar warmth envelop him. A new beginning. The days turned into months, and Alex grew stronger. With each passing moment, he learned to speak about his feelings openly, giving words to the lingering fears, the anxieties, the same ones Jack had battled for so long. It became their ritual to end each day by recalling the best moments. "What was your favorite part of today?" became their nightly question, prompting conversations that led to heartfelt exchanges. On a bright Saturday morning, as sunbeams flooded through the living room window, they gathered for brunch. Pancakes piled on plates and laughter filled the space as Alex excitedly announced, "Today, we should build a superhero fort." Jack exchanged an amused glance with Maria. "A superhero fort? I love that idea." "Yeah. And we can fight the bad guys," Alex exclaimed, joy flooding his features. That innocent enthusiasm lit a spark in Jack's heart. "Let us do it." They jumped from the table, and for the first time in a long while, he felt what it meant to truly live in the moment. As they gathered pillows and blankets, laughter broke into light-hearted chaos filling their home. The fort constructed under the glow of fairy lights became a sanctuary of smiles and imaginations. They draped themselves inside, each storytelling thread weaving their lives closer together. As the sun began to set, casting warm shades of orange and purple through the fabric of their fort, Jack paused, taking it all in. Just then, looking at Maria beside him, her smile illuminating their makeshift shelter, the realization dawned: this was family. Each day they faced fears, healed, and loved fiercely. This was the beginning of their fairy tale, filled not just with dragons and superheroes, but with moments of vulnerability and unyielding support, the perfect blend of life's imperfections molded into something remarkable. Jack knew that the journey wouldn't always be smooth. Challenges would resurface, and shadows might threaten at times, but now they had each other, a resolute bond rooted in understanding and love. He took a deep breath, gazing at the two most important people in his life, as if sealing the moment in time. "Let us fight the battles together," he said softly, wrapping his arms around both Alex and Maria, capturing the precious moment forever in his mind. As the laughter echoed, Jack felt lighter than he had in years. This wasn't merely about recovery, this was about thriving together in love, forging a new legacy as a family. And with that warm conclusion settling in their hearts, they all realized they had already begun their happy ending, one full of love, connection, and the bravery to face whatever came next. The world outside could continue its chaos, but here, within the sanctuary of their hearts, everything was all right. Now, embrace this journey with us. Don't let these moments slip away. Subscribe immediately to our channel to not miss the next exclusive stories of transformation. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, and comment your reactions and feelings about this incredible journey. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to support the channel because only true fans like you understand how vital this connection is.